More than any other tool used for spirit connection, the Ouija board attracts a special sort of fear. Many who use the board report having had negative experiences with malevolent spirits. However, in recent years there is one particular entity that appears to have been encountered at an alarming rate. It goes by the name Zozo. This mysterious figure has acquired a dark reputation. Some say it is from hell, and some even say that the very mention of his name will conjure the creature. Almost every encounter of Zozo is accounted as demonic, yet prior to 2009, Zozo was unheard of. As a Google search term, Zozo only trickled into life in 2009. It was in March 2009 that a man from Oklahoma named Darren Wayne Evans posted on a true ghost story sharing site. His post began with a warning. Ouija boards aren't toys and should be used with strict caution and should not be messed with at all. He then went on to describe a series of terrifying encounters that he had with the spirit Zozo. At one point, he asked, "Where is paradise?" It replied with H-E-L-L, hell. Evans went as far as to attribute the near-death experiences of his daughter to Zozo. Many people were intrigued by Evans's story. Evans went on to set up a website styling himself as a zozoologist. Shortly after, Darren's story caught the attention of filmmakers, One World Studios. They made the film I Am Zozo in 2012. In 2014, Evans was once again asked to show countless encounters with Zozo. The popular TV paranormal series, Ghost Adventures, visited him at his home and made him the feature of their show. Since fame's found him, the self-styled zozoologist's story changes every time he tells it. In 2016, a completely new facet of the Zozo story began to unfold. At this point, Evans was working on a book with paranormal author Rosemary Ellen Guiland, and in May, Evans conducted a telephone interview with a New Jersey newspaper. It was revealed that in 1982, Darren had discovered the mysterious Ouija board under his girlfriend's house. The board was odd, and on the front it had the word Zozo written on it. Until that point, he had never mentioned it before. Upon the release of his book, The Zozo Phenomenon, the board was mentioned again, but this time, Zozo was written on the back. His book went on to illustrate where the word Zozo was on the back of the board. In fact, he states in his book that on the front it said William Fold Ouija. Not surprisingly, no photographic evidence has ever been released to show the actual board. So, is there any real truth to what Darren Evans said? So, Is there any real truth to what Darren Evans has said about zozo? The first mention of zozo appears in Le Dictionnaire Infernal, a dictionary written by a French demonic writer. Evan used it to give credibility to his zozo demon, but when the latest edition, published in 1863, is used to translate into English, it says, "The village of Tilly, 3 leagues from Amiens, in 1816, gave show to a girl who wanted to pretend to be possessed. She was, she said, in the power of 3 demons, Mimi, Zozo, and Crapulet. An honest ecclesiastic warned the authorities, recognizing that this girl was ill. They took her into hospital, and she would no longer speak of possession. The king immediately sent his surgeon and 2 other doctors to examine the case. When the possessed girl was brought before the doctors, she was interrogated. She rattled nonsense. When questions were asked of her in Latin, she responded badly. Finally, it was found in some papers that a few years earlier she had been whipped in the public square for trying to impersonate a possessed person. She was condemned to perpetual imprisonment. The author of this book claims the case was fake and that the name Zozo is not a demonic spirit.
As for the entry for Zozo itself, there is hardly anything at all. A single, unimpressed sentence which directs the reader back to the aforementioned debunking entry. In short, Zozo is thoroughly unmasked. Unfortunately, it appears to be the case that those who have encountered this text have not translated it, and have therefore jumped to wrong conclusions. So what did Evans encounter? In his book, he offers no photograph of the Zozo Ouija board that he supposedly found. However, a sketch is provided, which shows Zozo carved in stylized handwriting on the back of the board. This same stylization is used on the front cover of the book. Although peculiar, it is not unique. It is similar to Led Zeppelin member Jimmy Page's famous insignia, zozo. The curved tail of the Z and the dots in the O's are identical. In his book, Darren Evans even states that he instantly made the connection to Led Zeppelin upon apparently finding this board. Evans states that the zozo symbol has magical origins, as though attempting to suggest that it has been used for historic, nefarious purposes. When one traverses the pages of history, this is what can be found. The zozo symbol originally appears in Unnatural Phenomena, a 16th century book written by renowned Renaissance scholar Girolamo Cardano. The insignia is categorized as an astrological symbol relating to Saturn. Centuries later, in 1844, the symbol appears again, in a slightly altered form. This time, it is classified as a protective Kabbalistic symbol. In short, the zozo insignia is not a demonic symbol. Led Zeppelin member Jimmy Page most likely adopted the symbol as his personal rocket insignia, as it can be linked to his astrological sign. Moreover, Saturn is linked to the metal lead, and so also the name of Page's band, Led Zeppelin. Above all, zozo is not a word. It is a symbol. To use a Saturnian protective symbol as evidence for the existence of a demonic entity is beyond ridiculous. Not to mention the fact that the supposed entity is called Zozo, which is a different word altogether. Surely a demon of great malign power would be able to spell their own name correctly. However, if this is not enough to make you question the reality of Darren Evans' story, then consider the following. Why has Evans never mentioned this mysterious Zozo Ouija board before? Surely his appearance on the television show Ghost Adventures was the perfect time to record this discovery. All of this makes it very hard to believe that this board ever existed. Yet, the most condemning piece of evidence against Evans' claim is that he is a devout fan of Led Zeppelin and Jimmy Page. On his Zozo website, he even features the official Led Zeppelin website as a cool link, and advertises Jimmy Page's autobiography. There are no stated links to Zozo the Demon by Evans, just a side note to say that he is a fan. In his recent book, he also concedes that he is a devotee. Given the stylized similarities between the supposed Ouija board and Jimmy Page's personal insignia, not to mention the lack of reference to the board prior to 2016, is the invention of the Zozo Ouija board simply Darren Evans' silent tribute to his Led Zeppelin idol? In the years since Darren Evans came into the limelight, there has been other literature published relating to Zozo. One book which claims to be based on true events is unimaginably titled Zozo, Personal Encounter. However, when one visits the author's website, one finds an appraisal of Darren Evans. The author states that none of what he has achieved would have been possible without him. Naturally, this book does not predate 2009 and Evans' original story. The more one looks, the more one finds these same sorts of links. Each time there is a mention of Zozo, it can be undoubtedly linked back to Darren Evans. The same can be said in regards to the infamous Zozo video on YouTube, which achieved viral status after claiming to show real footage of a girl become possessed by Zozo after using a Ouija board. Its view count on a YouTube channel titled Ouija Warning currently stands at close to 5 million. However, this video is owned by a film company called Stars Media. Stars Media has links to the producers and owners of One World Studios, the studio which made the film based on Darren Evans' story, I Am Zozo. If this video is genuine Zozo footage, then why are so many film studios and producers involved? And why, once again, can it all be linked back to Darren Evans? The final piece of the Zozo puzzle is what happens in the aftermath of 2009. After Evans posted his story online, people began to search for Zozo Demon on the internet. What followed were others coming forward with their own encounters with the supposed demon. If Zozo is nothing more than Darren Evans' invention, then how does one account for these independent testimonies? We have two theories. First is that the Zozo phenomenon is a case of reality imitating fiction. Zozo is not demonic, but human phenomenon. It is a being that has been imagined into existence by a collective psychology. Similar to Zozo is Slender Man, who despite originating in a fictional creepypasta, has been cited all across the world in the years following his creation. In many ways, Zozo is the Slender Man of the Ouija board. The more people believe in something, the more real something becomes. Our thoughts are having a physical effect on the world around us. Since 2009, an entire history has been invented and constructed upon, consciously or otherwise, by each individual who encounters the Zozo myth. Darren Evans was the catalyst for this myth. Now we are in the midst of the snowball effect. The other explanation for the sudden appearance of Zozo in personal testimonies after 2009 is darker still. Demonic beings feed off our fears. Since 2009, the paranormal community has learned to fear Zozo, the Ouija board demon. Many believe that entities have the ability to read our minds. When users of Ouija boards pick up the planchette with Zozo in mind, they may very well be opening themselves up to be manipulated by malevolent beings who purposefully adopt the ominous name of Zozo. Through the fabrication of Zozo, Darren Evans has created the ultimate weapon for malevolent beings to use against us. Either way, the story of Zozo always leads back to Darren Evans. As far as we can tell, there is not, and never has been, a demon named Zozo. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and remember to subscribe for more of the paranormal.
Editor's notes. The more research you tend to do on this Zozo subject, the more you realise just how complicated the actual thing is. I'm really surprised at Rosemary Gilly, the writer of the Demon book. She wrote the book a while before she wrote the book with Darren Evans, and as you can see on this little extract here, she's listed every demon in alphabetical order, and there's no Zozo on the list whatsoever. Then a few years later, she collaborates with Darren Evans, the inventor of Zozo, and suddenly there's a demon now that she agrees is Zozo, which doesn't actually appear in her Demon A to Z book. Is she doing it for money? Is she doing it for fame? Are they both in it for money and fame? Can you take anything that either of these people actually write or say as gospel? Like I say, the more research you do, the more bullshit you find. So I'll leave it up to you guys to decide what's true and what isn't. But from the information I've got, the whole thing is just a make-believe story. So this is Andy Weatherall from Stoke Haunted and the Myths and Legends team. Thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to add, rate and subscribe, and until the next time, take care.